Zuko, good morning.
Good morning.
So, brave plans for the next 10 years, I see you've mapped out. So, let's talk about what the plans are for the next 10 years. I see here there's a focus on policy change, education and early childhood development big on the agenda there as well.
I think it's important to also reflect that the past 10 years have been very significant in making sure that, there is some action taken to impact on people's lives. And I think we're very proud of that 10 years. Thanks to Madiba, who inspired us and gave us the direction and the mandate that, in fact, his birthday must be used to make this kind of impact. And I think at 10 years, a milestone of Mandela Day, we thought, let's review, let's look at what we can do going forward, how the next 10 years will be. And I think that it gives us an opportunity to do things differently. And one of the things we thought we should try and do now is to focus on the research work that we've done over the past years, particularly with the Mandela Initiative, what it told us with regard to poverty, the impact of poverty, the extent and the depth of poverty, both here in South Africa but also globally. And how can we collectively put our efforts together, both in private sector organizations such as the foundations and other NGOs, but also governments? What can we do using that research? And one of them is really looking at the models that we can introduce to address certain challenges that relate to poverty with regard to education, food and nutrition, as well as shelter and sanitation. So we've got some models that we are now starting to introduce in the market to say these are the things that governments can start implementing, or private sector can implement, or communities can start taking up on.
So, there's obviously the call for the next 10 years. Who are you hoping, and you've given us a list, but who are you hoping will come to the table more than others now? Because over the past couple of years, the 67 Minutes initiative has brought a lot of people. You've seen a lot of corporates buy into that. They've all wanted to be part of something, but it's just for that time and it's just for that day. Does this plan include a call to those stakeholders to take it beyond the 18th of July, and how does it do that? Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think this is the important part, that it does not exclude anybody. As individuals, we still have a responsibility to act, but we're looking at more sustainable actions. How do we get involved for the long haul, instead of just for the 67 minutes, for the 18th of July, and waiting the whole year, looking forward to this particular day? Now we're saying, no, we have an opportunity to partner in a more long-term, sustainable and continuous engagement with a project that will make sure that you actually make impact in a way that will take people out of poverty, not give them a breather for the day, but take them out of poverty. So let's make an example. We're talking in food and nutrition, and most of the time we give people sandwiches on that day. We say, oh, we have some meal on the table, but we don't know what they're going to eat on the 19th of July, right? So this action talks about how we bring on board organizations that deal with food and nutrition, whether it's within the agricultural space, and how do we produce food with those communities in such a way that they form part of the solution, and they're part of the, not just the production of food that they're going to eat, but the business models that will make sure that they get out of poverty in a sustainable way.
And they're sustainable. So early childhood development, I see that there's a big focus. I'm very pleased about that. It's very close to my heart as well. And also that goes together with nutrition, because you cannot learn if you are hungry. So how are you going to be linking those two as well? Are we doing things like food gardens at these ECD centers? What's the plan?
Yesterday at the launch of the strategy with the stakeholders, some of the practitioners were telling us some touching stories about how we have neglected our children, the love that is missing from our country, because we are able to support, either children in high school, we are supporting people in prisons, we're supporting all sorts of, with food. We worry about what they're going to eat, but nobody thinks about the kids in early childhood development centers. And the policy framework has to start thinking mainly about what do we do to put the right infrastructure in these early childhood development centers, but also the right support with regard to teacher quality of teacher training, but also the food and study material that these children are given, so that the young minds, the foundational phase is very conducive and productive
and
for
the question
young
of
minds.
food shouldn't be a question. It
Shouldn't
should be a
be.
given in those instances.
Shouldn't
I mean, seriously. So we're looking ahead to the next 10 years from the 18th of July this year. How are you going to be introducing this plan to everybody? What are you going to be telling? Well, it's not just South Africans. You're creating a global network as well.
Absolutely.
So how do we start this with a bang this year?
So what we've started now to do is to engage the stakeholders and private sector. All of corporate South Africa is on board. We are working with organizations that have raised their hand and said, we are going to take on sanitation. That's going to be our primary focus. The others are saying we'll take on food and nutrition. Others are taking on education and literacy, different aspects. And everybody is saying, the next 3 years, next 5 years, the next 10 years, depending on their ability, their capacity, their resources, they commit to a particular period and particular issues, and they have assured us that they're going to be partnering with us going forward in this. So that's the first phase, and the second phase, obviously, is to go public to the rest of South Africa to say, identify a cause, make sure that you make an impact, and marry to that cause for a longer period, so that there is a measurable impact. This global partnership that we are, or global network that we're setting up, is important to ensure that organizations, not just in South Africa but globally, are able to share knowledge, share research, and share resources to a certain extent, where we are able to connect the need and the resources and match them and say, how do we then help each other identify where the gaps and the needs are, and therefore where are the resources and how can you deploy them?
Because they are out there, we just need to get them to the right places and at the right time. Okay, so let's see what happens from the 18th of July. It's not that far away, mind you. We don't have much time to the 18th of July. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. And that Luzuko Koti, the Nelson Mandela Foundation spokesperson, just talking to us about the next 10 years and what Mandela Day is hoping to achieve over those next 10 years. Not just on that day, but every day after that.